Hi, and welcome to the Sterling Net Point Power Ranking Show. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. My co-host is Ben Dickerson. There he is with his New York Giants hat on. We're going to have a chance to talk about your Giants, Benny.
Why?
I saw something I thought was good. I thought it was good, and so I pointed it out to you.
Okay.
Take a look at them. Excuse me. Let's get started with the ANP, or average net points. This is the crux of what we take a look at on an ongoing basis. On the left-hand side, or at least to my left, you see ANP, and then on the right-hand side, you see ANP L3. That means that's the last 3 weeks average net point rankings. So let's take a quick look. We always give love to the number one team. And in both cases, last three and for the season, we have the Seattle Seahawks in first place. So congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. Strangely enough, second place is the same team again, the LA Rams, both for the season, averaging plus 11.7 points, net points per game, and over the last 3 weeks, plus 17.3 net points. And as you can see, the points are a little higher on the last three. So some teams are heating up a little bit. Again, for the top five, we have New England at 8.5 plus 8.5. And if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that they're in fifth place at plus 12.3. Indianapolis at plus 7 for the season. Indianapolis is not on that left right-hand side for the last three. So you'll see that they drop below the top half. Detroit at 6.9 plus 6.9. They're there. Or number 10 at plus 4.7. It's a little slower. Buffalo plus 6.4. And Buffalo, are they there, Benny? Yes, they are, plus 6.7. So they're pretty much carrying the same level of work. Let's go through it real quick. From 7 to 16, we have Houston, Green Bay tied at 5.8, Denver at 5.6, Kansas City 4.8, Jacksonville 4.3, my Niners 2.9, the Chargers 2.2, Philly, the Super Bowl champs, at plus 1.4. That is their average win margin. At that point, we go into the negative side. Average net points and average turnover differential are both positive and negative. Chicago showing at negative 0.1 and Pittsburgh at negative 0.2. So that's pretty close there between Chicago and Pittsburgh. However, when you go over to the other side, you'll see that Chicago has moved in a positive direction and they're now plus 1.7. Pittsburgh, however, I do not see on the right-hand side of the chart. So Benny, this is the part that you like. You like the top half. Any comments on this group?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is the only half that counts because now we got teams eliminated from the playoffs. But I mean, what catches my eye right away is the 49ers and the Jacksonville Jaguars are both on fire right now at the right time. They both streaked from 11th and 12th overall through the season over the last 3 weeks. San Fran is at number 3 and Jacksonville's at number 4. They are streaking right now and right at the right time.
Yeah, my Niners might have heard me questioning them last week. They took care of business. Let's look at the second half, even though that's not your thing. But at least we can see what happened to Dallas Cowboys. They 0.4 average net points for the season. And they were on the top half. Were they? Let me see here. Go back up one. Yeah, but they were negative 2.7 at 16. So there's not much difference. 16 or 17. The surprise teams down in the lower half, Baltimore, maybe Minnesota. Let's see here. Those are mainly the surprising teams in the bottom half for the season. For the last 3 weeks, you got your LA Chargers at -3, Kansas City minus 3.3, Baltimore tied with Kansas City. Philly, last 3 weeks, -5 net points. Pittsburgh minus 5.7. We won't talk much about Indianapolis until we're ready to talk about the matchups in a later show. And Tampa Bay Giants, Arizona Jets, and Washington and Vegas round out the bottom half of this. Any final words on this one?
Real quick, what catches my eye right away is Philadelphia. They've dropped severely over the last 3 weeks, mainly because they have a 3-game losing streak. And also, Tampa Bay has dropped, not severely, but they're not playing as well as they have been overall over the course of the season lately. They've been having some trouble. They're stumbling a little bit.
Yeah, you said not severely, but in the last 3 weeks, dropping to 27, that's a little severe to me.
Well, they were at 21.
They were at 21, yeah. For sure. Well, were 21 at -2, but 27 at -9.3.
Right, but still in first place in their division. So
And
they're doing
still
what they
in
got to
first
do.
place. Wow, that's
I mean,
crazy.
that's the nature of the beast in
Okay, there you go.
the NFC South.
NFC South. It's going to be a war room in there. All right, let's look at scoring, Benny. Average points for Detroit in first place for the year at not plus, at 30.3 points per game. Rams in first place for the last 3 weeks at 35.7 points per game over the last 3 weeks. Wow.
Fire. They're on fire.
Detroit, Dallas, the Rams, and Buffalo round out your top five from 29.8, dropping down to 28.9. Not a big difference there. On the right-hand side for the last 3 weeks, you've got Detroit, Seattle, Jacksonville, and San Fran. That's what you were talking about. Jacksonville putting up 29.3 points, and my Niners putting up 29 points. My magic number, is 28 points. That's one touchdown and an extra point per quarter. On the season side, Indianapolis is still hanging in at 28.9. However, you will not see them on the right side for the last 3 weeks. New England, 27 points the last 3 weeks. They're 28.7, so they're pushing it up a little bit. All right, here you go, Benny. Let me just call out Cincinnati on the left-hand side for the season, 24.2, tied with Kansas City. Just a tad behind Green Bay. And yet on the right-hand side of the last 3 weeks, 28.7 points per game, tied with New England. And just a tad ahead of Dallas. Buffalo, 28 points over the last 3 weeks. And I don't see them on the season side here. Oh, yes, they are. Number 5, 28.9 points. So they're about the same. They're very consistent. In 10th place for the last 3 weeks and for the season. Green Bay, season 24.8. Last 3 weeks, 27.3. Man. Let's see here. Kansas City, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Denver, Pittsburgh, and San Fran round out the scoring for the top half for the season. And Dallas, Buffalo, Green Bay, Chicago. I love the fact that Chicago is 8th in scoring, and over the last 3 weeks, 11th in scoring. I just think that's awesome. And not much difference, 25.7 for the season, 25.3 for the last 3 weeks. You then have Denver, Miami, Carolina. I don't know what you're going to do with Carolina. Houston, 21 points. They get that up, that will be really scary. And Pittsburgh at 20.7. Here's your top half of your scorers, Benny. What do you got?
Well, as usual, when you look at net points, that kind of gives you a bigger picture or a better picture of exactly where teams sit in relation to the other teams. When you do points for, it doesn't tell you the full story without going to points against, which we're going to do next. But when it comes to teams that I already shouted out, like Jacksonville and San Francisco, it does tell you quite a bit because you see a really nice offensive surge for those two teams over the last 3 weeks. I would venture to guess that when we do go to points against, you will see that number has improved for them also. It may not be as big as an improvement, but obviously these two teams are really revving up their offenses, running games going, quarterback's playing better. Everything is going just the way they want it to go at this time of year. Cincinnati, obviously, with Joe Burrow, they have no choice. If they think they're going to win games, they got to put points on the board, and we know Joe Burrow can do that. And there was one other team I was looking at, and I can't remember who the heck it was. New England still status quo. Denver. Yes. Denver's up a little offensively, which is important for them because they've been at the top of defenses for most of the year, but they weren't really scoring. A lot of their games were close and not very high scoring. So the fact that they're able to get a few more scores on the board is a good thing for them going into what's getting ready to be the playoffs.
All right, there you go, Benny. Let's look at the second half here. All right, there's your Tampa Bay tied with the Chargers at 23 points per game. Then Philly comes in at 22.2 points per game at 19th place for the season. Houston 21.8, Arizona 21.7. It just drops to Miami 21.6, and your Giants 21.5. Washington 20.2. Jets, Minnesota, Atlanta, Carolina, they're all in that 19-point range. Then you drop to the bottom half, or the bottom of the bottom half, Cleveland, New Orleans, Tennessee, and rounding out the bottom at 32 is Las Vegas, only scoring 15.1 points per game. Now that's for the season. Over the last 3 weeks, Ben, your Giants are 17th, scoring 20.7 points per game. That puts them ahead of Kansas City, Baltimore, the Chargers. I think that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. You're not impressed.
How
But
about
you're ahead of us.
I'm not surprised. Jackson Dart's real.
Okay. All right. Well, you're also ahead of the Super Bowl champs, who the last 3 weeks only scoring 18.3, tied with Indianapolis. Then you have New Orleans, Tampa Bay, your Jets, Vegas, Washington, and rounding out for the last 3 weeks and 32nd place, Minnesota at 12.3 points per game. So that's your scoring leaders. So you said something about defense there?
Yes.
Here you go. For the season, the Houston Texans allowing the lowest number of points at 16. For the last 3 weeks, it's Seattle, lowest number is 17.4 points per game, which is exactly what Seattle is allowing for the season, 17.4 points per game. Your Rams are 17.5, Denver 18.1, New England 18.5, round out your top five. For the last 3 weeks, San Fran, Miami, Houston, and Jacksonville round out your top five. So, and these are all teams that are scrapping for pole positions in the playoffs. 6 for defense is Green Bay at 19, Kansas City at 19.4. My Niners are coming in 8th at allowing 20.7 points per game. You got a tie between the Chargers and Philly, allowing 20.8 points per game. Did I say 8 for the 6? Not for my Niners is 20.7 points per game. And 0.1 point above that, above that, more points is Jacksonville. You got Minnesota, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Miami, and Carolina rounding out the top half. For the season, for the last 3 weeks, let's see, I said Jacksonville at 5. You got the Patriots, Minnesota, Green Bay, Rams, Denver, Buffalo, New Orleans. Okay, the top half for defense. Cleveland, top half for defense. Chargers, 20.8. Baltimore, 24.6. And Philly, over the last 3 weeks, allowing 20.8 points per game. Well, that's your defensive top half, Benny. What you got there?
Well, sir, I would have to say that when you look at the left-hand column for over the season, Houston, Seattle, the Rams, Denver, and New England are without a doubt the 5 best defenses in the league. There's no question there. And I expect them to hold steady at that point. But when you take a look at the right side, what's going on over the last 3 weeks, and some of this has to do with teams hitting either tough parts or kind of lulls in their schedule, uh, i.e., Miami sitting in third place over the last 3 weeks. Seattle, again, coming on strong. San Fran coming on strong. Well, Seattle's been there. San Fran really coming on strong, just like they did in points 4.
Yeah.
Jacksonville also looking
Yeah.
at number 5 there, coming on strong. So that explains how Jacksonville and San Francisco made that great leap in average net points. They're playing much better over the last 3 weeks on both sides of the ball, without question. They are the hot teams, and they're hot right at the right time.
All right. There you go. Finally. Oh, no, not finally. We got the second half of the defense. All right. 23.2 points for 17th place for Cleveland, 23.7 points tied with Chicago for 17th and 18th place. Detroit, 23.4. So you got your 23-point group, Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh. You got your 24-point group, Atlanta, New Orleans, Baltimore. Your 25-point group, Tampa Bay, Vegas, Chicago. There's Chicago's issue right there, giving them 25.8 points per game. Arizona, Jets, Washington, Tennessee, your Giants, Dallas. Look at that. Dallas, 29.7 points per game, 31st place. That's crazy. And then Cincinnati rounding out last place at 31.8 points allowed. On your last 3 weeks side, 23 points. Again, Kansas City and Chicago, 24 points, Atlanta, Washington, 25, Carolina, Tampa Bay. Okay. 26, you got a four-way tie, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Vegas, and Cincinnati. The Jets are coming in 27th. You then have Tennessee, Detroit, Arizona, and Dallas for the last 3 weeks. Again, 31st place. And then your Giants are rounding out 32nd place at 31.3 points per game. So those are your points allowed, Benny. Any further on this part?
Now, most of the teams here are going to be very hard pressed. There's only a couple of teams that even have playoff hopes. And I would say the scales are tipped against them if they're going to give up this many points, especially over the last 3 weeks. Now, unless I see a really big improvement over the last 3 weeks from what they were coming in over the course of the season, like a team like Chicago.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Chicago, you win in the cold weather by running the ball and playing defense. And we've seen them run the ball. You just got to get that defense up a little bit because they're scoring now. All right, let's go to the last stat here, Benny. Average turnover differential. Did we say turnover for that Eagle game, Benny? We did say turnover, didn't we?
You certainly did. Said it could come down to that.
Man, we never expected that many, though.
No, I didn't expect that many, but I did expect a turnover to have something to do with how the game ended.
Oh, yeah. Well, in any event, Chicago coming in first place for the season at plus 1.3 turnovers per game. Miami in first place for the last 3 weeks, Benny, at plus 2. Miami? Really?
Yeah, low in the schedule.
Okay, all right. Your top 5 in turnover differential includes Chicago, Houston, the Rams, Tampa Bay, and Pittsburgh. And they're going from 1.3 down to 0.7. Houston at 0.9, Rams at 0.8. On your last 3 weeks, your top 5 include Miami, Houston, Carolina, Seattle, all tied at plus 1.7. And then my Niners are coming in with the same numbers that Chicago had for the season at plus 1.3. Detroit's got that 6th spot, season and last 3 weeks tied up at 0.6 for the season, but plus 1, for the last 3 weeks. That will be tied with Green Bay and Cincinnati at plus 1. For the season, Green Bay, Philly, tied with Indianapolis and Atlanta. We got the hiccups all of a sudden. Arizona, New England, and the Chargers are tied. Carolina breaks even at 0. Miami starts the negative part with negative 0.1. So for Miami going from negative 0.1 for the season and putting up +2 for the last 3 weeks, that's pretty good. My Niners coming in fifth at 1.3. You then have a three-way tie at +1 for Detroit, Green Bay, and Cincinnati. A two-way tie for ninth and 10th place between New England and those LA Chargers. Chicago, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Arizona, Denver, and Las Vegas all tied at +0.3 average turnover differential. What do you got on this?
I was surprised to see Jacksonville not in the top 16 or top 50 or top 16 over the last 3 weeks. I think I remember they got 2 picks in their last game. But you know what? They're always near the top. They've been near the top of the interception list for the entire season. But turnovers also include fumble recoveries. That's not something that they do as well as some of these other teams above them. Some of these big hitting teams like Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Houston, the Rams, and Chicago. They force and recover more fumbles than Jacksonville does. Hence, they're ahead of them over the course of the season. I don't even see them over here in the last 3 weeks, Jacksonville, I'm talking about. So I was a little bit surprised at that. But everything else seems to be falling into place. Again, Miami's had a little low on their schedule. They've been able to get it together and get themselves a couple of wins. Houston's really scrapping for their division. Carolina, again, scrapping for their division. Seattle also scrapping for their division. So over the last 3 weeks, these teams are turning it on. And that means hard hitting, getting them picks, mixing it up defensively, and recovering those fumbles.
All righty. Okay. Yeah, the Philly had Jalen had like 2 turnovers on one play.
Yep. First
That
time
ain't,
that's happened in a number of years.
I know, that's like very unusual to happen like that. But okay, there's our stats for the season and for the last 3 weeks for the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Um, we like to look at those stats because they do portend what's going to happen. And that's one way to keep an eye on the baseline. And then you add to that things like turnover differential. So we know what the Indianapolis Colts, net points are. We know what their scoring is, what their defense is, what their turnover differential. And then when Old Man Rivers takes over, we'll be able to compare the changes that he brings to the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll leave that for the next segment. Any final words, Benny?
Now I'm good. Everything's falling into place.
There you go. Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at www.sterlingnppr.com. Please remember to click the like button and the notification bell. See you next week.